little lighter, a little looser. Today we're going to talk about hormones and household chemicals and some scary, scary research that's out on reproduction and what it's doing to us. So it's going to be a very enlightening show today. And the research it actually blew my mind when I first read it. It's out of Mount Sinai, New York, and declining sperm counts that are happening across our society and our world. Oh, okay, we're ready to go there. All right, so what we do is I talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, if you have any health questions, type them in. John, my producer, is going to read me the questions at the end of the 24 minutes. Then we're going to do another 24 minutes, and then I'm going to answer some more questions. So this is an unbelievable opportunity for you to have your healthcare questions answered, because very few people have the opportunity to talk to a doctor and say, hey, I've got this issue. What do I do about it? What's the best course? So I'm going to hopefully be that the guiding light for you. So any health questions you have, please share this with your list of contacts, and let's see if we can get this taken care of. John's getting the cameras all set up. And so, John, I am ready to rock whenever you are. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. A little more serious show today. Sometimes we're lighthearted, sometimes we're silly, but today's a little more serious. We're going to talk about household chemicals, actually chemicals in your environment, and how it's disrupting your hormones. The first part specifically for men. Then we're going to go into cow's milk, actually, strangely enough topic. And I did a post on social media about cow's milk a while ago, and it went viral. It blew up. And some people were on my side, and some people were yelling at me. And that's anything you post on social media, of course. But we're going to discuss something called casomorphines that are found in cows, and its direct link to depression and autism. It's really cool what we're finding now, this new research. So I want to start out with basically a canary in a coal mine. If you don't know what a canary in a coal mine is, coal miners used to bring canaries into the coal mine. And if the canary died, that means there was a lot of toxic odors or chemicals in the air, and they told the miners to get out because they couldn't smell it, they couldn't taste it. But if the canary was more sensitive than the human, if the canary died, it was time to get out of the coal mine. Well, I've got a little canary in a coal mine research study here that I hope everyone takes note of, because it's pretty serious. Shanna Swan, she's a PhD, and she's at the School of Medicine in Mount Sinai, New York, and she's been studying something strange, sperm count. And we've been looking at sperm count, and men are experiencing 50 to 60% decline in sperm count from 1973 to 2011, and this was a 2017 study. So when you do studies, you go back in time, you gather all the information and put it together. And so what that amounts to is about 1% of sperm decline per year for the past 50 years. So what does that mean? That means a 50% reduction in sperm from essentially 2 generations till now. Your grandfather, your father, and then you. It's about a 50-year span, and a generation's about 20 years. So about 2 generations. Okay, you think to yourself, well, that doesn't bother me. I don't want to have kids. It's not really important to me, or I'm a woman. Doesn't matter to me. This is very telling. So the original study, 2017, included men from North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. And it was criticized because they didn't have enough global data. Well, only was a few countries. What about other countries? What they found, they did find some other studies. They put it all together. The rate of decline changed when more recent data was added. So the more information they got, the worse it was. So while decline was about 1% beginning in the 1970s, by 2000, the rate of decline had doubled to 2.6% reduction in sperm count. Now, again, I'm getting here. Stay with me, because there are a lot of topics we need to discuss here, and why is this a canary in a coal mine? It's not just about sperm count. In fact, that's pretty much the least of the concerns. So the pertinent question is, what's triggering this incredible decline in sperm count? Now, I've been in practice a long time. I've been in practice 2 generations now, 40 years. I never thought of it that way before. So in 40 years, when I first started in practice 40 years ago, very seldom did patients ever come in and say they couldn't make babies. Younger couples, of course. And I'm seeing it more and more. In fact, it's become a cottage industry. The cottage industry is doctors that are just working on infertility. And it's a very profitable scenario for the doctors. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars sometimes through artificial insemination, through working with the couples. And if it doesn't work, you failed. Your money was lost. So, yeah, there's a financial issue here. But what's more important is, why is this happening? And that's what concerns me the most. Nobody's really talking about why. Well, you know what? I can't make a baby. Okay, let's go to this fertility expert. And those fertility experts, I consider them amazing what they can do with in vitro fertilization and surrogate parents. It's just crazy what's going on. Impressive from a scientific standpoint. But more importantly, nobody's saying, why is this an issue? It's like high blood pressure. People have high blood pressure. They say, well, take medication. Okay, did anyone ever ask you why you have high blood pressure? No. No one's ever asked me. I have it. I got to do it. Well, if I'm fat, if I'm skinny, if I'm black, if I'm white, if I'm male, if I'm female, if I'm old, if I'm young, nobody talks about the cause of these issues. And that's what I want to talk about today. What the research looks like is causing the issues. And it's not just about sperm count. It's about affecting your hormones, your life expectancy, and not just the length of your life, but the quality of your life. And many of the things we're going to talk about today, you have 100% control over. So that's the good news. It's not any bad news. It's good news all the way across the board. But it's bad that's happening. So like I said, 1% decline. When we started adding more and more research into it, it went up to 2.64% per year. Now, of course, that's not a sustainable number, because over time, eventually you're not going to have babies at all. Sperm count is going to be so low, but it's other things. So stay with me on here. So lifestyle factors have a lot to do with your hormones. Smoking, drinking alcohol, stress, diet, exercise, all of this affects sperm count. So also we have chemicals in the environment, the air, the water, household dust, your food. It's a very different world today than it was even 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I remember when I first got in practice, I never heard about, very seldom heard about gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance. Now, I was in Italy a couple of years ago, actually, right before COVID, and I was amazed. In Italy, the restaurants had gluten-free on their signs. A lot of them did. And I thought, we're in Italy, and they're messing with pasta? Yeah. More and more people are having sensitivities because the chemistry in our environment and in our world and in our food is changing, and it's changing for the worse. So the environment is something that you have control over in most cases. So let's talk about that. There are a lot of factors contributing to this reproductive calamity, crisis. I don't know. I don't know why this isn't on headline news everywhere. This is big stuff. So I believe one class of chemicals in particular that's detrimental to sperm decline is something called endocrine disruptors. Now, I've talked about this many, many times before, but this is new research going in a different direction. Sperm cells are produced, and obviously that's the reproductive system. Now, the production of what we call these germ cells, germ is like the beginning of life. Germ cells are governed by hormones. And your hormones are governed by your organs, but also your outside environment impact that it has. Years ago, I remember attending a seminar, and they talked about something called epigenetics. And I thought, epigenetics, what's that? And they said outside your genetics, an outside force that's having an impact on your genetics. And I didn't quite get it at the time, but then I realized this is big news. And now we have cell phones. We didn't have cell phones at the original time I studied epigenetics. And now we've got 5G, much more powerful than 4G. And we're finding it can affect your body. It can affect your hormones. It can affect how your body functions, your cell, your brain function. But because it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, what are you going to do about it? Well, we'll talk about that too. So the hormones are altered by chemicals, including phthalates, parfum, these endocrine disrupting hormones, and that can lower testosterone. And then there's also something called bisphenol A specifically, and also bisphenol F and bisphenol S. So if you've ever looked at the labels of things, it'll say BPA free. You ever see that? And it says BPA free. This is great. I heard BPA is bad, bisphenol A, and it's an endocrine disruptor, and it messes with my testosterone, my estrogen, all my hormones. So I want to make sure whatever I'm using, specifically plastics, are going to be BPA free. And we put BPA free on labels, and it was great. Well, we replaced BPA, they, with BPS. Well, BPS is different, but it's just as bad for different reasons. And so little deceptive advertising, maybe. I mean, it is BPA free. They're not lying. But the whole point of not having bisphenol A is to not affect the hormones. BPS is also affecting the hormones. So there are other variants used. And again, we replaced BPA. It became a problem. So where are these toxic chemicals found? Where can I get them and how can I avoid them? Because my goal, if you're new to the show, folks, my goal is to naturally get you well and keep you well. I want to give you as much information as possible so that you have better control over your own health. Because healthcare prices are out of control. They're not even close. A friend of mine, chiropractor, hurt his back, and he couldn't get adjusted. His muscles were so spasmed. So he went to an emergency room, and in the emergency room, they gave him some injections, and they tested some other things. And by the time he was done, in about 3 hours, he said, I'm starting to feel a little better. I'm able to drive. And he went home. His bill was $15,000. Let's say 4 hours by the time he filled out paperwork. 4 hours, $15,000. Now, that could easily bankrupt a lot of people. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And he said to me, he says, Joe, I wonder what they did. He looked at his billing list and he says, what they did, the prices were insane. They weren't even like logical. And he said, what? Now, he had insurance. Now, what happens with the insurance companies, the insurance company will say, all right, the bill is $15,000. We're all going to pay you a fraction of that. And you're in our network. That's another little sneaky thing insurance companies did a few years ago. You're in our network, so you have to accept whatever we're going to pay you. So the hospital didn't get paid $15,000. But if he didn't have insurance, he has to pay the full fee, $15,000. Number one cause of bankruptcy is medical bills. So billing is out of control. Healthcare is crazy because we're not treating the cause, we're treating the symptoms. In his case, you needed to treat the symptoms. He had muscle spasms. But treating the symptoms is great, but then I want to get to the cause of the problem and not just cover it up. And so here we have these people not being able to make babies. Sperm count is dropping dramatically, 50% reduction in 2 generations, and that's on the low end. And so why don't we discuss that? That should be discussed when you go into the doctor's office. Why is my sperm count so low? Why can't the women produce enough eggs? Why can't the baby survive in the uterus? And why does the baby, even if you do get pregnant, it just the pregnancy is terminated naturally, miscarried? Why are these things not being discussed? Because it scares me. And so where are we going to get these chemicals? Let's see how you can avoid these chemicals. Plastics, cash register receipts. I have this phobia of cash register receipts. So if I'm taking someone out to lunch or if I have to buy something for the offices, I'll take the cash register receipt just by the tips of my fingers, put it in my wallet or put it in my pocket, go wash my hands. Because cash register receipts have this bisphenol A on them. Vinyl flooring, teething toys. This one drives me nuts. Teething toys. Babies chewing on endocrine disrupting hormones. Canned food liners. I used to work for a pizza place, and I remember we'd take the big can of pizza sauce and dump it out, and we'd have this big spatula. And we'd scrape the can. There was enough sauce stuck to the side of the can to make one more pizza. So we'd have to scrape it all out to save money, of course. But then we started realizing, society, started realizing that we can line the cans with bisphenol A. And when bisphenol A lines the cans, everything slides out better. That's why if you remember when you were a kid, you had to scrape the can to get the food out. Now we don't have to do that anymore. Why? Bisphenol A. Toys, PVC pipes, personal care products, products you put on your body, many times have these chemicals in it. Epoxy adhesives, caulks and adhesives, food packing, and this is the funny one, sports equipment. We're out there trying to generate young athletes and then even college and professional athletes, and they put on that new equipment that smells so new, that plastic smell, and a lot of that is these endocrine disrupting hormones getting into their body. It's a pretty serious issue. So beyond the phthalates and the bisphenols, pesticides have also been shown to lower sperm count, even down to 0 in some adult men. A man's sperm count, this is important, a man's sperm count can recover from pesticide exposure in about 3 months. Stop exposing it, the body can heal. If a pregnant woman is exposed to pesticides, her unborn son can be affected and his sperm count will never recover. So I see pregnant women, and again, famous man said, forgive them for they know not what they do. This is not common knowledge. So I see pregnant women touching cash register receipts, having plastic in their house, new car smell. I'm going to buy a new car because the baby's coming. The new car smell. Those are chemicals being released into the air. Not only is that child affected, but the grandchildren can also be affected. And I remember years ago when the studies first came out that epigenetics and genetic issues like this can be passed on to grandchildren and maybe even great-grandchildren. So ladies, what you're doing now can affect your grandchildren. And you don't know these things. Food can liners. I'm going to have a can of food. Okay. Bisphenol A, bisphenol S. It's going to be a problem. I got to get new floor putting down. Got the baby coming. Got to put new flooring in the room. Take the carpet out. I'm going to put down some vinyl floor so it's easy to clean. That new vinyl floor smell, new wood smell, endocrine disrupting hormones. Wow. Some pretty serious stuff. So we have to start thinking, what are we doing to our bodies from an external standpoint that's going to affect us on now reproductive issues? So it's easier to live a cleaner life because the long-term side effects. In my house, I have all hardwood floors. Now, if you're going to put hardwood floors in, and tile, if you're going to put hardwood floors in, make sure they're pre-finished. Because if we have to sand the hardwoods down and then coat them, those chemicals can outgas for several months. Outgassing means that smell can be there. And you've had this already. You had that new car, and after a while, the smell starts to go away. Great. The greatest thing to happen is those smells going away because that means it's outgassed itself and the toxins are gone. When I first started lecturing on chemicals and how the body works, I remember talking about paint. And you had to go to a special store to get low VOC paint, volatile organic compounds. Now, most of the paints are low VOC. They don't smell as much. I know if you're old enough to remember, you used to paint something, it would smell for days and days and days. Well, it doesn't happen anymore because people complained about the smell. As a side effect, we got rid of a lot of those VOCs, those volatile organic compounds. So the chemicals we're exposing ourselves to, pretty serious stuff. And that's another reason why I want you to stay as healthy as possible. I can't avoid 100% plastics, vinyl floor, new car smell, cash register receipts. There's no way I can avoid that ever in my life, my lifestyle being what it is. But there are things that you can do to keep your body as healthy as possible. You want to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. If you have those three things, your body is going to be a lot healthier overall. And that's what you're shooting for here, overall general health. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, headaches, these are signs that the nervous system is being stressed. Pain is a warning sign. Pain is telling us something's wrong. What can we do about that? Well, let's get to the cause of the pain. The number one cause of pain, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, is pinched nerves. Excuse me. And when you have a pinched nerve, what's the most logical thing to do? Unpinch it. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, let's check to see if you have pinched nerves. The most effective, least expensive treatment for that is chiropractic care. That's it. That I should drop the mic and walk out. The most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain is chiropractic care in most cases. So if you have pain, come see us. In the Atlanta area, I have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Go to my website, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. Normally, the first visit is $940. For my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. And with the nutrition evaluation, I want to get the chemistry right. Do we think you have any deficiencies? What's your diet look like? Maybe you can swap this for that, make better choices. Maybe I'll recommend some supplements for you. And let's put together a health care plan. Right now, you might have health insurance, but it's not a health care plan. I want to put together a health care plan for you. So go to my website, book an appointment, drjoe, drjoe.com. Car accidents. If you're ever in a car accident, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way in 40 years of treating car accidents, and I even teach doctors and lawyers and physical therapists for continuing education on car accidents. Insurance companies too, by the way. If you're in a car accident, you will get calls from what we call runners, scammers. They're going to say, hey, Bob, go see this doctor, go see this lawyer. We're even going to give you money. You're going to be part of a survey. It's all a scam. If anyone ever calls you and says, go see a doctor or a lawyer, it's a scam. It's a felony on their part, and if they offer you money, now you're involved. So don't do it. Call my office. If we don't have an office near you, I'll find a doctor for you. drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Let's get the patient as the primary focus when it comes to healthcare. Not insurance, not these runners who are chasing ambulances. Let's make you the primary focus of healthcare. Because insurances are nightmares. Doctors hate taking insurance because it's such an expensive cost to bill insurance and then follow up with insurance. And then, oh, we denied the claim. Why? We don't know. Resend a claim. We resend a claim. Well, we don't know why it was denied. Well, what do we do about it? I don't know. Believe me, I can tell you stories for hours. But anyway, just come see us. Another thing that happens when these babies are exposed to chemicals is something called the anogenital distance. This is chemical exposure in utero. Now, this is a very weird thing. I don't know how they came up with this thing. Is the distance from the anus to the base of the penis. And if the shorter it is, the more chemicals they've been exposed to. Also, they find men have lower testosterone when they get older in life, and it actually shortens their life. Men with higher testosterone traditionally live longer than men with lower testosterone. So it's physically changing their bodies. It's chemically changing their hormones, lowering their sperm production. This is some pretty serious stuff. And so it's not just you that's going to be affected. It's going to be any babies that you might make. And a female fetus in utero is growing eggs, and that's kind of important for her reproduction. These chemicals can make it way worse for that as well. A genetic study also demonstrated generational effects on hormone-disrupting chemicals, the effects worsening with each subjective generation until by the third generations, some of the animals can't reproduce. So it's not just affecting baby boys, it's affecting baby girls, but it's affecting you men by lowering your testosterone levels, because again, higher testosterone, traditionally longer lives. And testosterone is not just about sex drive. And it's not just about your biceps and your triceps. Your heart's a muscle. Your blood vessels are muscles. And so it's affecting everything. Testosterone affects the muscles. So you're exposing yourself to so many chemicals and you never even thought about it. Even the wrappers from fast food. I used to work in a pizza place, like I said, many years ago. And one of the issues we had was the pizza would stick to the roof of the cardboard. Remember those days? Doesn't happen much anymore, does it? Why is that? We're lining the pizza boxes with this bisphenol A, this non-stick chemical. Wraps that you wrap sandwiches in, same thing. Styrofoam cups. I want to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to put it in a styrofoam cup. That styrofoam is melting just a little bit, releasing chemicals into the coffee or the tea or the soup or whatever it is. So if you go to a restaurant and get to-go food, hopefully it's cool by the time they put it in there, but don't eat out of that styrofoam container. Because as you're taking the fork and scratching that styrofoam, you're getting those chemicals into the system. And that's a problem. So what we want to do is make sure we're eating a good diet as well, because a good diet is going to help flush out some of these chemicals. One of the things I recommend everyone do is take care of their liver. Even if you eat a really good diet, the liver, as it gets older, just doesn't detoxify like it used to. So I do recommend supplements, things like chlorella. Chlorella has been shown to help detoxify the liver. And that's something I take every day. It's in Dr. Joe's Essential Super Greens. Dr. Joe's Super Greens is chlorella and spirulina. And one of the many benefits of that is it helps detoxify the liver. It also has omega-3 fatty acids in it. Omega-3 fatty acids necessary for brain function. I take an additional omega-3 fatty acid supplement because in the essential source there's some, but it's not enough for optimum performance. And all the supplements we talk about, by the way, are on the website drjoe.com, drjoe.com. And just click on the store section. You could order them. Come by our offices and pick them up, save some shipping. But I can't imagine why you're not taking supplements if you're not. And once people start taking our supplements, I had a guy call my radio show the other day. He says, Doc, I've been taking your supplements for like 10 years now, 15 years. He goes, take them every day. Can't imagine a day without them. So chlorella and spirulina, great for liver detox. I would add Dr. Joe's Essential Source to that as well. Essential Source is prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, a complete multivitamin. If you're not willing to do anything else, at least Super Greens Essential Source, vitamin B complex, and vitamin D. And they're all on the website, drjoe.com. So at least start giving your body the minimum nutrients that it needs to try to help fight these environmental toxins. And there's a lot of them. And so Let's do everything we can. Get the nervous system healthy. Get the digestive system working. Get the right nutrients in the body. When we come back, I'm going to talk about what to eat, what not to eat, what I recommend, and other topics as well. We got a lot more to cover when it comes to these hormone disruptors. So, folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. My website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Book your appointments. Send me questions through the website, drjoe.com. We'll be right back. Boom. All right. Got John working over there with the new camera angles here. You have questions for me, John?
When looking at heart disease, do we need to look into the C-reactive protein?
Yes, of course. C-reactive protein is a blood test I want you to add to every blood test you ever have. C-reactive protein determines how much inflammation there is in the body. Now, it's only going to tell you about general inflammation. It could be an ankle, it could be a colon, it could be the heart. So C-reactive protein is important. I'd also recommend you get a homocysteine test. Homocysteine is it's an amino acid that can better tell how much cholesterol is stuck to the artery walls. So when you get your blood test done, I want a C-reactive protein and a homocysteine test every time. And then keep a record of it and monitor it. What else you got?
I've heard that cayenne pepper is amazing for a number of reasons. Is there a specific brand that you would recommend?
I would recommend organic because a lot of times with herbs, they may be cut. You don't know where the herbs are coming from. I try to get them made in the USA, but many times they say, manufactured or shipped in the USA and they're made in other countries. So try to do organic. And the cayenne pepper is a vasodilator. It's loaded with nutrients. I love cayenne pepper, and I use it on a regular basis. I'm Italian, too. I like spicy foods. But do organic. I think you'll be okay.
How healthy is bariatric tea for you?
Bariatric? Bariatric tea. I'm not sure what that is, so I don't know how to answer that. Bariatric, I'm guessing weight loss tea, if that's what you're shooting for. Weight loss tea, many times, is nothing more than a laxative. I'm going to go down that route. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Many times, it's just a laxative. And if it's a laxative, it just makes you go to the bathroom, and that may not be the best thing because you don't want to, just pass out all your nutrients. Sometimes it'll like a thermogenic tea, and all it is caffeine or taurine, and it just speeds up your metabolism, just like drinking coffee. That doesn't mean it's good for you. So I'm not that big a fan of bariatric tea because it may be just temporarily causing more problems than it helps. If you want to lose weight, go to my website, drjoe.com, and type weight loss in the search bar. We did several shows on weight loss, and I'll give you the physiology behind weight loss. I used to be fat. I have stretch marks on my chest, across my back. I totally get being fat. And so I'll talk about the neurophysiology of weight loss and what you need to do to reset a part of your brain called the hypothalamus. The new GLP-1 receptors, the agonists, these new drugs they're giving you, they make you feel full. Well, there's GLP-1 GLP-1 is a chemical, let's say, and it gets absorbed in different parts of the body. They're all over the body, the GLP-1 receptors. But if you're eating things like fruits and vegetables, that helps with GLP-1 production. Exercise can help with that. Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. I have no research on that, but I can tell you that when people take Super Greens and Essential Source, they feel less hungry. I feel less hungry too. So I've never done research on this and GLP-1 receptors, but yeah, we're kind of trying to do what the medication does without any of the side effects. And that really is just a plant-based diet. So what else you got?
If you could only eat 3 fruits, what would they be?
Wow. Cherries, mangoes, and pomegranates. There you go. Those are my favorites. I like watermelon too. That'd be a runner-up. John's got more questions for me.
What is in vinyl exam gloves that would cause them to be labeled with a Prop 65 warning?
Well, again, they're vinyl, and it can have I don't know what Prop 65 is, but they have the chemicals being released. And so that's why if you're wearing gloves all the time, you're exposing yourself many times to these toxic chemicals. And so that's a concern. And that's a big issue with doctors and nurses and people that change gloves, even people working in fast food restaurants. If you go have a sandwich made, they change gloves constantly. Those chemicals can be getting into the body. So I understand why, but I am concerned about it. That's why you got to keep yourself healthy. You may not be able to avoid some of these exposures, but you can keep yourself healthy so the impact is mitigated. So, what else you got?
That is all.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to do part 2 here. I have to take my sip of my slippery elm tea. Slippery until it helps coat your mucous membranes, which is my throat, colon. And so it helps tremendously. And it also tastes good, too. It has a slightly licorice flavor. All right, let me see where we are. All right, we talked about that. We talked about that. We talked about girls. Okay, what to do. Good. All right, I think we're ready. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. If you're just joining us, welcome. If you stayed with us, thank you. I appreciate that. I know everybody's busy, and I appreciate you taking time. So what we're talking about today, we started talking about household chemicals, and actually chemicals in general, that are affecting your hormones. And we talked earlier about how it's lowering sperm count. In fact, sperm count goes down about 1% a year. So that means my sperm count, if I'm doing my math right, is about 50% less than my grandfather's would have been. And that's a pretty serious issue, okay? So generationally, when I was born, it was lower than my grandfather's would have been. And so the consequences, it's going to be harder to conceive children. And men with lower sperm counts, we said, die younger traditionally. Sperm count tells us not just about the ability to conceive, but it tells us something about longevity, and that's kind of important. And overall, as the fertility goes down, fewer children are going to be born, and so that's going to affect the future. Now, again, if you don't care about the future, at least care about yourself. And you really want to avoid these things. So what do you do? Let's talk about now, what do you do? The first part, we talked the doom and gloom of what's happening. Think about what you're allowing in your bodies. Type of food, the type of drinks, the type of air, the type of products you use in your house, the cosmetics you use. Mostly just be aware that all of this matters. There is no one thing you can do that's going to change this. It's even been suggested men should bank sperm when they're younger in case they want to use it later. Now, I don't like that idea. I like the idea of taking care of yourself so you don't have to worry about it. That's a much better approach. Because again, we're thinking like orthodox medicine. We have a symptom, let's treat the symptom. The symptom is sperm counts going down. Let's treat that by banking sperm when you're young when the sperm is higher. My approach is, why don't we find out why the sperm is dropping? Because again, it's not just men, it's women that are being affected by these things. So you can have your sperm tested if you'd like. If it's not great quality, it's another warning. I got to change my life. Here's what I suggest. Assume that your sperm is dropping. Assume that you've been exposed to things that can cause cancer. Assume that you've exposed to a life of high risk of heart attack. Just assume it. And then act accordingly. Because if the answer is you never had that, well, great. You acted accordingly and you led a better lifestyle. If you were exposed to it, then you've done the right thing. So I love tests. I love doing tests, MRIs, CAT scans, blood work. I love doing that stuff. But what do you do with that information? That's the question I ask people. Okay, you come in with this, people come in with folders sometimes of their health history. And I say, okay, you found out you have all these different conditions. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. Okay, what did anybody say to do? I don't know. I have an autoimmune disease. I have low sperm count. I have a genetic marker that I may increase my risk of breast cancer. And very little, I'm not saying never, but very little is discussed as to what proactive steps can I take. Silver lining, the phthalates, one of those chemicals, leave your body pretty quickly in a matter of hours after exposed to them. They're non-persistent chemicals. Now, unlike other toxins like dioxins, PCBs, lead, so if people stop taking them, the damage done to fertility would stop, at least for this one certain class of chemicals. So what do? Let's start living a healthier lifestyle. Let's think about this. What can we do to live a healthier lifestyle? Eat more fruits and vegetables. Why? Because fruits and vegetables have fiber. And fiber can wrap around chemicals and carry it out of the system. So that's something that's exciting. And once again, why do we want to eat more fruits and vegetables? Because it's the healthiest lifestyle. A couple of weeks ago, we did a show, and we talked about what's the best diet for overall health and longevity. And the best diet for overall health and longevity is the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, the MIND diet. These are all double-blind study, research, medically approved. Everybody agrees. Now, we talked about the Mediterranean diet is mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, extra virgin organic olive oil, little bit of meat, little bit of fish, little bit of alcohol, little bit of dairy products. Very little. And that's what I've been talking about for 40 years now. So finally, science has caught up and said, oh, Dr. Joe was right. Now, I don't recommend, if you're going to eat meat or dairy products, make sure it's organic. Now, the good part is that when the studies were done in the Mediterranean, they don't use a lot of chemicals, steroids, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, genetically modified food, glyphosate. They don't have that, so a lot of their food is organic by design. In the United States, what we have to do is say, okay, I'm going to eat organic animal products. If I'm going to eat an animal product, I recommend it's organic. If you're going to drink alcohol, take a little bit of alcohol. They don't go out drinking necessarily. Now, I understand in certain European countries, people do imbibe, but even the alcohol is different. I had a patient come in the other day, and she's from South Africa, and she looks me straight in the eye, and she says, I understand that your team of doctors is some of the finest doctors in the world. That's what I've been told. I said, thank you. I think so. I can't say that out loud, but I think it. And she said, I understand you're brilliant, you whiz on nutrition. I said, I thank you. And she said, and she leans forward, and she said, here's the thing. I'm not giving up my meat. I'm not giving up my wine. I said, okay. She said, but I will eat organic meat, and I'll drink organic wines. The only wine I drink is from South Africa because she's from South Africa, and she's a flight attendant, so she can travel back and forth. She goes, but I won't eat conventional meats and dairy products, and I won't drink conventional wine. I said, deal. I agree with you. She said, okay, good. Then we'll get along fine. So I'm not asking you to give up everything. Just take little steps, baby steps. At least take supplements. If you're not willing to do anything else, at least take supplements. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, fruits and vegetables in a powdered form, chlorella and spirulina to detoxify the liver, iodine for thyroid and other cell function, omega-3 fatty acids, proteins, plant-based proteins. So why wouldn't you at least take that? And it's cheaper than a cup of coffee. So you can't give me a reason why you wouldn't take it. Well, Dr. Joe, I don't like the powders. Okay, mix it up, blend it up with a frozen banana. I want it sweeter. Add some stevia. Add some frozen berries. Whatever it is, I have an answer for you. But at least Super Greens and Essential Source, vitamin D. I don't know anyone who has normal vitamin D levels unless they're taking a vitamin D supplement. That's it. Unless you work outside in the summer, maybe then you have vitamin D levels that are better. But if you live, in a climate with 4 seasons, the chances are you're going to need vitamin D. And make sure your vitamin D has vitamin K2 with it. Had several patients in the past couple of weeks come in and say, Dr. Joe, I take vitamin D every day. I don't need to take another supplement. Okay. Does it have vitamin K2 with it? I don't know what's vitamin K2. And I tell them what it is, and they bring in their bottle. It doesn't have K2 in it. And I get this question often. Why do they even sell vitamin D3 without K2 in it? I don't know that. I think that should be a no-brainer. One of the things vitamin D does, it absorbs calcium from your food and brings it into the blood system. Vitamin K2 takes it from the blood system and brings it into the bones. So 3 of the patients in the past couple of weeks were taking vitamin D. I can see hardening of the arteries on the x-rays. And I said, where's this coming from? I don't know. You need to get some K2 in there to start cleaning out those arteries. You could do something called nattokinase as well. That might help. But at least D3 with K2, and then B vitamins. The reason is you pee out your B vitamins every day. You need to replace them. They're not stored. The A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. You can store them. Can't store your water soluble vitamins. Got to replace them every day. So even if you're not willing to make dietary changes, okay, at least mitigate the damage with supplements. I take nitric oxide every day. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation to your heart, your brain, your sex organs. I've had so many men come to me over the years and say, Dr. Joe, I started taking nitric oxide. I was able to go to my doctor and say, hey, my blood pressure's dropping. Can I come off my medication? Doctor said yes. And romantic function started to be restored because it opens up the blood vessels. I've told the story before of one of the guys I worked with at the radio station. He's walking down the hall. He says, Dr. Joe, love that nitric oxide supplement. And then he smiles. He goes, my wife said thank you. And he winked at me and walked away. So there's so many benefits to supplementing your diet with quality supplements. My grandfather always said, always buy the best. It's always cheaper. And supplements are not expensive. Compared to what you're doing with fast foods and delivery services and coffee, you're dropping so much money on stupid things. I call stupid things. Take that money, invest in quality supplements, and then many times you don't need the coffee. You have enough energy to make your own meals. You have enough brain function to say what's a better choice. and choose better foods. I can't imagine a better investment than your health. I've spent my entire life searching for better health, and I still search. I had dinner with a friend of mine the other day, my friend Fred, 83 years old. And he said, I got to pick your brain. I want to know what you know. I want to live a whole lot longer and a whole lot happier. Just had a heart attack too. And he eats pretty well and he exercises a lot. He says, I don't want to die. And I don't want to leave my wife, who's 20 years younger than me, behind. Sit down with me, Joe, and tell me what I need to do. I do that with you every day. And if you want to sit down with me personally, you can. If you want to make an appointment to come see us in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Book an appointment. Now, if you want to have your consultation with me personally, just tell the staff I want to meet with Dr. Joe on the first visit. I'll come in, I'll meet with you. We'll discuss what to do, what not to do. I'll do some testing on you. And then my other doctors will take over. We'll put together a nutrition protocol for you. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, it's time to make an appointment. Stop suffering needlessly. I don't know how else to be clear about this. Stop suffering. Pain is telling you something's wrong. Do something about it. It's very simple. So drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. For my listeners, that's you guys, the cost is $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I shouldn't have to sell you on that. X-rays alone are going to cost you more than that anywhere else. And we're going to try to get to the cause of your problem. So drjoe.com, book your appointment, stop suffering, stop wasting time, stop putting it off, get yourself checked. Let's do a nutrition evaluation. Let's look at your lifestyle. What changes can we make? You don't have to do everything the first day. But let's start making some basic changes so that we can improve the quality and hopefully the quality and the quantity of your life. drjoe.com. And all the supplements we talk about, by the way, are on the website, drjoe.com. If you have questions, and we all do, send me your questions through the website. I am happy to answer your questions for you. To go to drjoe.com, a little bot pops up, says, hey, want to chat? Or on the bottom, it says, contact us. Either way, all the questions come to me, and I'm happy to answer them for you the best I possibly can. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of them. And I want to be your doctor. I want to get you well and keep you well. And again, with supplements, I don't think supplements are a luxury. They're a necessity. If your goal is even a little bit better health, I can't imagine not taking supplements. Super Green Central Source, vitamin D, B-complex, nitric oxide to increase circulation, hormone regulator, estrogen regulator to prevent my testosterone from converting into estrogen, omega-3 fatty acids. They're a little more expensive, but they're worth it. And I don't like fish oil as an omega-3. I like algae oil, which is the purest form. Once again, quality is everything. So we have several different supplements. We have a lot more coming out in the future, too, so stay tuned on that. So drjoe.com, just make an appointment. We accept insurances, by the way, too, most insurances. So I want to talk about something that was interesting. This kind of blew my mind a little bit. And the title of the article is Household Chemicals May Increase Risk of Neurological Conditions like Autism and MS. And I'm seeing more and more people. I was at a restaurant the other day with my friends, and there was a fella in front of us as we were walking out the door in a vestibule, the foyer, whatever you call it, and he fell. And he kind of fell, and I almost caught him, and I didn't. He fell to the ground, and I helped stand him up, and he was just shaking, and he couldn't speak, and I think he had MS. Because when I touched his body, his muscles were weird, tight but loose at the same time, and he had trouble walking. And so we walked him out to his car, and he couldn't speak. And I said, you okay? And I said, listen, man, we're all friends here. All the guys are together. We're here to look out for you. Walk him to his car. We sit him down. And I don't know whatever happened because I said, what else can we do for you? And he just turned to me to try to shake my hand, and he got in his car. He wouldn't talk to me. And I thought, okay, this is a young guy. Something's wrong here. Now, these things happened years ago. We didn't have these chemicals. I understand that. But I was so curious that I said, let me do a little research on this. And that's what kind of motivated this talk today. So people diagnosed with neurodevelopmental conditions such as autism, it's increased greatly over the past decades. I don't know how you were when you were a kid, but when I was in high school, we didn't have autistic kids. We had one kid that had special needs, Charlie, and everybody else was kind of around the same area. But we're seeing the skyrocket of autistic diagnoses. Now, we're diagnosing it more. We're better. We're looking for it. So I'm not saying that's not the case. But new study common chemicals found in personal care and household products damage specialized brain cells called oligodendrocytes. And they generate something called myelin. Now, myelin is a sheath or a covering around your nerve. Now, your nerve is an electrical wire. And you know how electrical wires, there's no bare wires anywhere. All electrical wires have a plastic coating on them. That's what myelin is. Myelin is protecting the nerve. So researchers suggested that these chemicals can lead to neurodevelopment and neurological conditions such as autism conditions, attention deficit disorder, and multiple sclerosis. Now, the study was from Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine, and it assessed the effect of a wide range of chemicals on isolated oligodendrocytes, organoid systems, and developing brains in mice, basically the nervous system and how the nervous system works. They found two groups, organophosphate flame retardants and quaternary ammonium compounds had the biggest effect on the death of the oligodendrocytes, the nerves that they produce the myelin. So there were two types of chemicals. They tested, it was in here somewhere, a bunch of different chemicals, but those were the two that did the most damage. Now, it's kind of interesting because one of the things they found, organophosphate flame retardants. So you have a baby. What do? You look for a mattress that's flame retardant. You look for covers that are flame retardant. We don't want the baby burning. But in the process, we may be increasing their exposure to these flame retardant chemicals, these organophosphates, and affecting the production, the function, and the production of their brain. Some pretty serious stuff right there. So the oligodendrocyte production begins in fetal development, and the majority of these cells are made during the first 2 years. The mature oligodendrocytes are responsible for manufacturing and maintaining the myelin sheath, protecting the nerves. So if I had an electrical system, if I had a toaster, and the plastic coating had come off the wires, what would you do with that toaster? Throw it away, right? That exposed live wire is extremely dangerous. Well, your exposed nerves without proper myelin sheath becomes a really big issue. And it's a type of glial cells, the oligodendrocytes, that regulate various physiological functions, including myelin sheath production. And so, again, these are different types of cells in the brain. I know I'm using a lot of big words, but they're the ones that make the brain, they protect the brain, and they make it work. So chemicals from these two groups had an adverse effect on the oligodendrocytes, organophosphate flame retardants, commonly found in electronics and furniture, inhibit the generation of these cells. So you open up a box of wires. Has a smell to it, right? That's the flame retardants that they put on there. Because if a wire short circuits, you don't want the wire burning up, so they put the flame retardants on it. Now, it's kind of a catch-22. I think we need these things to protect the wires, absolutely, but your exposure to be a problem. So if you're handling plastics, if you're handling wires, I want you to go wash your hands when you're done. It really is a simple way you can treat it. If you're handling cash register receipts, go wash your hands when you're done. Or, ironically, wear gloves. Now, the gloves that you're wearing, I would recommend that they not be plastic because the plastic can have chemicals as well. Now, some of you are thinking, if this goes on social media, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get all these posts. Well, that's not real. You don't live in a real world. That's not how life works. This is our society. This is how it is. I get that. But doesn't mean you can't take steps to protect yourself. 80% of the chemicals had no effect on the oligodendrocytes that they tested. 1,823 different chemicals were tested. 80%, they were fine. But the things that we're exposed to most to, the plastics, we said earlier, chew toys for babies. Please get a baby a non-plastic chew toy if you can. And if it is, make sure it's BPA, BPS free. Make sure it's made with organic ingredients. I know it's tough. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I want you to be aware of these chemicals that are affecting your body. Now, I've been treating people with neurological issues for 40 years now. And we say neurological issues. How about neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain? Those are pinched nerves. How about imbalance? How about MS? How about people with attention deficit disorder? We talked about that earlier. ADD and autism increased when you're exposed to a lot of these chemicals. And so I always sit down with the patient or the family, depending if the patient's even aware of what I'm saying. Sometimes we have some really serious ones come in. And I'll say, okay, what can we do for this? Let's get them on a healthy diet. let's get them away from those ultra-processed foods. Ultra-processed foods are foods that have ingredients that you wouldn't be able to make in your kitchen. If you could make it in your kitchen, chances are it's not ultra-processed. But when you see chemical terms that you don't know what they are, chances are it's an ultra-processed food. Let's get you on more whole foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. If you don't know what to eat, go to my website, drjoe.com, and just type in the search bar, so what can I eat? And it's free. My website has over 4,000 hours of content. It's absolutely free. Go to the website, search the website, type in whatever you're looking for, and chances are you're going to find, we did an article, a blog, a radio show on it, and you're going to get a lot of good information. So what can I eat is to talk nothing but what does a day in a life look like. Now, if you have questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer those questions for you. All of us have health questions. I have health questions. I have coaches. I want to be your coach. I want to be your doctor. I want to be your advisor. Let's try to put together a wellness plan specifically for you. And let's find out what we can do to get your body well. So use alternative disinfectants. Okay, you can use citric acid, hydrogen peroxide, alcohol. A lot, even hand sanitizers. A while ago, they were using chemicals that were endocrine disruptors in hand sanitizers. And little kids are walking around with these little hand sanitizers hanging off their backpacks and rubbing endocrine disrupting hormones on their hands multiple times a day. Luckily, people like me got out there and said, it works just as well without that chemical. Take the chemical out. And they did. But really, one of the best things you can do is just wash your hands. Use plain old soap and water. I use liquid soap, Castile soap, and that's what I find the purest soap to be. And it washes off so easily. When you start using liquid Castile soap or even bar Castile soap, and then you switch over to commercial soaps, stuff doesn't wash off as well. I remember when my mom was alive, if I go to visit her, if I showered there, if I didn't bring my soap with me, I'd use the commercial soap, and it felt slimy. So when you start making these changes, when you start taking things like super greens and essential source, when you start taking vitamin D, B complex, nitric oxide, estrogen regulator hormones, these are all on the website, drjoe.com. When you start taking these supplements, you start changing your diet ever so slightly. Have something raw at every meal. Have broccoli, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocados, an apple. Raw food with every meal. I don't care if you're having veal parmesan and white bread pasta with a cream sauce. Ugh. Have something raw with it. Have a salad with it. And you'll start to see these little changes in your health. And you'll say, wow, that's amazing. If you have pain, come see us. Let's see if it's a pinched nerve. Let's see if it's a muscle spasm, bone out of place. And you start feeling better and functioning better and moving better. And you start to reverse a lot of the damage that has happened in your life. You're going to say what so many patients say to me all the time. Why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I make these little tiny inexpensive changes? Why didn't I eat better? Eating better, by the way, is way cheaper than what you're doing right now, even if you're eating fast food every day. You can have a bean burrito instead of a beef burrito. Have a salad. Have hummus instead of a burger. And watch what happens. It's amazing when you make these little changes. So I want you to consider, if your goal is to get well, to make some changes. Make a commitment. If you don't know what to do, send me an email through the website, drjoe.com. I'll lay out a protocol for you. Make an appointment to come see us is really going to be the best thing, because then I can put together a customized plan specifically for you. Everything I tell you is generalized. When you come in as a patient, we can do a customized. Now, we can do a remote consultation as well if you want to. I know this show goes all over the world. We can do a remote consultation if you'd like to as well. Just when you send me the email, just say, I want to do a remote consultation. We'll do that. I've been doing this for 40 years. I get more excited every day. Patients say, why don't you retire? You've been doing this for 40 years. Go out and enjoy yourself. This is what I enjoy. I love helping you get well and stay well. So if you have an issue, have a question, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every day. And the podcast is Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. All right. I got more to cover. Got to keep talking. I want to talk about the casein in A2 milk and autism. All right. You got questions?
Besides working out, how can I increase my testosterone?
Stay away from things that are endocrine disrupting hormones. estrogen compounds like meats and dairy products. Short term may help, but long term, the estrogen there can be adversely affecting your testosterone levels. Make sure you're eating the right foods. Make sure you take things like super greens and essential source. I take Dr. Joe's estrogen regulator, which prevents my testosterone from converting into estrogen. That's diindole methane. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and type in men's health issues, and we cover a lot of that in that whole talk. So, but yeah, you want to do everything you can to keep that testosterone high.
Do you prefer walking or jogging?
Walking, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know anybody who walks who had to have a knee replacement. I know a lot of people that had jogging had knee replacement. So the walking is just as good as jogging as far as the effects on the body. When you walk, make sure you swing your arms. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. And that integrates the brain, and now you actually have brain impact as well as just muscle impact. And just by contracting a muscle, like right now I'm standing up, just by balancing myself, my muscles are releasing chemicals that act as antidepressants on my brain. So exercise is a lot more than just building muscle. It actually helps the emotional aspects of your health. So try to walk as often as you possibly can, but walking over jogging, absolutely. What else?
How can we decrease the chemicals in our mattresses and furniture?
Try to get organic mattresses. Really, is going to be your best bet. That's a problem, and it's real. It just is what it is. So organic mattresses are going to be one of the best things you can do. Make sure you put a mattress cover over it, like the padded thing, and that's going to help lock in some of those chemicals as well. And every time you wash your sheets, wash the mattress pad as well. And that's going to help tremendously because those chemicals, they can be washed out. Eventually, they'll settle down, but they are going to be released. Absolutely. So.
Do walnuts count as something raw at every meal?
Yes. That's an easy one.
Is it okay to drink clove water?
Yes, I love clove water, as a matter of fact. I make a tea with clove very often. No matter what tea I'm making, many times I'll just throw 5, 6, 7 cloves in there and just boil it at a very slow simmer for about 4 or 5 minutes. And it gives it a clove flavor, of course, but cloves are antibiotic and antiviral. But clove water is great. Clove tea, you can just do clove tea. Clove and water, add a little stevia to it, you got a great tea. And it's cheap.
That is all.
Great, guys. I appreciate it. Please follow me on social media. If you're not following me on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, because the more people that follow us, the more we're able to get the word out because we go higher up in the algorithm. So, and any questions or come see us, drjoe.com. We'll talk soon.